Commander X9 had heard many things in his 40 years of deep space exploration. He had listened to the songs of dying stars and the whispers of black holes, but the signal coming from the edge of the galaxy was different. It was unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever recorded. "What is that sound?" asked his second officer, Kira. She was from the Vorthan species, known for their excellent hearing. Even she looked confused. The signal was not asking for help. It was not a distress call. It was music. Someone was singing. But more than that, there were other sounds mixed in. Laughter, voices talking, strange rhythms that made their hearts beat faster. "Play it again," X9 ordered. The bridge fell silent as the signal filled the air. It was beautiful and strange. The melody rose and fell like waves on an ocean. But what shocked them most was the emotion in it. Whoever was making this music was putting their whole soul into it. "Sir," called the navigation officer. "The signal is coming from Sector 7 Alpha. That's the dead zone. No intelligent life has ever been found there." X9 stared at the star map. Sector 7 Alpha was at the very edge of known space. Most species avoided it because it seemed empty and dangerous. The few planets there were small and far from any major star routes. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yes, sir. The signal is definitely coming from the third planet in that system. The locals call it Earth. Earth." Even the name sounded strange. Most planets had names that described their features or honored great leaders. But Earth was just simple. "Set course for Earth," X9 commanded. "Send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them we may have found a new species." The journey took 3 days. During that time, they kept listening to more signals from Earth. They heard different types of music. Some was soft and gentle, like a mother singing to her child. Other music was loud and powerful, full of energy that made them want to move. But it was not just music. They picked up other transmissions too. They heard people talking in different languages. They saw moving pictures on screens, stories about love, adventure, war, and hope. These Earth creatures seemed to create stories about everything. "Look at this," said Kira, studying her readings. "These beings have only been using technology for a few hundred years, but they have already filled their planet with signals." "What do you mean?" asked X9. "Most species take thousands of years to develop radio signals. These humans, that's what they call themselves. They did it much faster. And they're not just using it for communication. They're using it for entertainment, education, art." X9 felt a chill run down his spine. Fast development usually meant a species was dangerous. But these signals did not sound dangerous. They sounded curious, playful, full of wonder. When they finally reached Earth, X9 could not believe what he saw. The planet was blue and green, covered with white clouds. It was beautiful, but that was not the surprising part. The surprising part was what the humans had built. Cities of glass and metal stretched across continents. Lights twinkled like stars on the dark side of the planet. Ships moved across vast oceans. Flying machines crossed the skies. And in the space around Earth, satellites spun in perfect orbits. "How old did you say their technology was?" X9 asked quietly. "According to our scans, they have had advanced technology for less than 200 years. Before that, they were using simple tools made of wood and metal. 200 years. Most species in the galaxy took 50,000 years to reach this level. Some took even longer, but humans had done it in just 2 centuries. "Sir," called the communications officer. "We're getting a response to our greeting signal." "What do they say?" They're asking if we want to visit. They seem excited to meet us." X9 felt his hands shake slightly. In all his years of first contact, he had never met a species that was excited about aliens arriving. Most were afraid. Some were hostile. But these humans seemed happy. "Send a reply. Tell them yes, we would like to meet them." As their ship moved closer to Earth, X9 watched the planet grow larger in the viewing screen. Something about this place felt different. These humans had built something special here, but he could not understand what made them so unique. He would soon learn that what made humans special was not what they had. It was what they had lost. And that discovery would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about strength, survival, and the power of being alone. "Prepare for landing," he ordered. "Let's meet these humans." Commander X9 had seen many worlds. He had met dozens of intelligent species across the galaxy. But as he walked through the human city of New York, he felt like he was in a dream. The humans had welcomed them with celebration. Children pointed at their ship with wonder, not fear. Adults asked questions about their homeworlds with genuine curiosity. No weapons were pointed at them. No armies surrounded them. Instead, the humans threw a party. "This is not normal," whispered Kira as they walked down the busy street. First contact protocols say new species should be cautious, suspicious. These humans act like we are old friends. Dr. Sarah Chen, their human guide, heard her comment and smiled. "Why would we be afraid? We have been waiting to meet you for so long. We always hoped we were not alone." Zex-9 stopped walking. "Waiting? How long have you known about other species?" "We did not know for sure," Sarah explained. "But we always imagined you were out there. We wrote stories about you, made movies about meeting aliens. We dreamed of this day." That was when Zex-9 realized something was very wrong, or very right. He could not decide which. They were taken to a museum that showed human history. What they saw there made their minds spin. The timeline moved so fast it seemed impossible. 10,000 years ago, we lived in caves, Sarah explained, pointing to ancient paintings on the wall. "We hunted animals with stone spears. We discovered fire." "Yes, that is normal for early species development," said Kira. Sarah smiled and moved to the next section. 5,000 years ago, we built great cities. We invented writing, mathematics, and farming." Zex-9 nodded. "Still normal, though a bit fast. 2,000 years ago, we had great empires that stretched across continents. We built roads, aqueducts, and monuments that still stand today. Getting faster, but not impossible. 200 years ago, we invented machines powered by steam and electricity." Now Zex-9 felt worried. "That was very fast. 100 years ago, we learned to fly. 50 years ago, we split the atom and reached our moon." Kira dropped her datapad. It clattered on the museum floor. 20 years ago, we built a global computer network that connects every person on Earth. Today, we are reaching for the stars." The museum fell silent, except for the sound of Zex-9's rapid breathing. That is impossible," he whispered. "No species develops that fast. Evolution does not work that way." Sarah looked confused. "How fast did your people develop?" Zex-9 thought of his homeworld. "My people, the Zarians, took 40,000 years to go from caves to cities. We took another 30,000 to reach space. Your species did the same journey in just 10,000 years." "What about other species?" asked Sarah. "The Vorthans took 60,000 years," said Kira quietly. "The Zentari took 90,000. The fastest species we know took 20,000 years. You did it in half that time." Sarah frowned. "That seems slow. Why did it take so long?" "Because that is how long it takes," Zex-9 said, his voice rising. "Species need time to learn, to grow, to make mistakes and recover. They need guidance from older, wiser species. They need help." "Help from who?" Sarah asked. And that was when the terrible truth hit Zex-9 like a meteorite. "From other intelligent species on their homeworlds," he said slowly. "Every planet we know has multiple intelligent species. They learn from each other. They share knowledge. They help each other grow." Sarah's face went pale. "Multiple species on one planet?" "Yes, usually 3 to 5 different intelligent species evolve on each world. They teach each other, trade with each other, sometimes fight, but mostly help each other advance." "How many intelligent species evolved on Earth?" Kira asked, though she was afraid to hear the answer. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was very soft. "Just us, only humans. We were alone." The museum seemed to spin around Zex-9. He grabbed a wall for support. "Alone?" he gasped. "You developed all this technology. Alone? No one helped you? No one guided you? No one taught you?" "We taught ourselves," Sarah said. "We learned from our mistakes. We figured everything out by trial and error. We had no choice." Zex-9 felt like his world was falling apart. Everything he knew about evolution and development was wrong. These humans had achieved the impossible. They had reached for the stars with no one to show them the way. But if they could do all this alone, what else were they capable of? And why were they the only ones on their planet who survived? The questions that came next would break his heart. The next day, Commander Zex-9 could not sleep. His mind kept spinning with questions. He found Dr. Sarah Chen sitting alone in the observation deck of their ship, looking out at the stars. "You seem troubled," she said without turning around. Zex-9 sat down beside her. I need to understand something. Yesterday you said humans were the only intelligent species on Earth, but that should be impossible. Where are the others? Sarah was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was sad. They are gone. All of them. Gone? What do you mean, gone? Sarah pulled out a small device and showed him pictures. These are the others who lived with us. Neanderthals. They were our cousins. They were smart, strong, and good at surviving. They made tools and art just like us. Zax9 studied the images. These beings looked almost like humans, but different. What happened to them? We are not sure. Maybe disease. Maybe climate change. Maybe we competed with them for the same resources. They disappeared about 30,000 years ago. That is terrible, but one species dying is not unusual, Zax9 said. Where are the others? Sarah showed him more pictures. There were others before them. Homo erectus, Homo habilis, different types of early humans. All gone. Zax9 felt confused, but these all look like early versions of your species. Where are the completely different intelligent species? Sarah stared at him. What do you mean? On my world, we have the Xerians like me, but also the floating mines and the crystal builders. 3 completely different types of intelligence. On Vorthan homeworld, they have the Vorthans, the tree speakers, the deep swimmers, and the sky dancers. Every intelligent world has multiple different species. Show me, Sarah whispered. Zax9 activated his holographic display. Images of his homeworld appeared in the air. Strange floating creatures with glowing brains. Beings made of living crystal who built impossible structures. His own reptilian people with their scaled skin and large eyes. We all evolve separately, he explained. We think differently. We solve problems in different ways. The crystal builders are amazing at mathematics. The floating minds understand energy and physics. My people are good at exploring and organizing. Together we became strong. Sarah's hands were shaking. You mean, you had teachers, helpers, other minds to learn from? Of course. Every species does. When we got stuck on a problem, we asked the others for help. When we made mistakes, they showed us better ways. We shared everything. Kira joined them on the observation deck. She had been listening from the doorway. Sarah, what did humans do when they got stuck? Who did you ask for help? Sarah's voice became very small. We asked ourselves. We tried different things until something worked. We made lots of mistakes. Sometimes the same mistakes over and over. But that would take so much longer, Kira said. That would be so much harder. Yes, Sarah nodded. It was very hard. We fought wars because we could not agree on things. We destroyed our environment because we did not know better. We made weapons that could kill our whole planet because we were afraid of each other. Zax9 felt a cold fear in his stomach. Afraid of each other? But you are the same species. We are the same species, but we developed differently in different places. Different skin colors, different languages, different beliefs. Since we had no other intelligent species to compare ourselves to, we thought our differences made us enemies. That is horrible, Kira whispered. We got better, Sarah said quickly. We learned that our differences made us stronger, not weaker. But it took us thousands of years to figure that out, and we had to figure it out alone. Zax9 stood up and began pacing. This explains everything. You developed so fast because you had to. You had no choice. Adapt quickly or die. But that means, Kira said slowly, humans became strong not because they had help, but because they had none. Sarah looked up at the stars again. We used to dream about meeting other intelligent life. We made up stories about aliens visiting us. We hoped that somewhere in the universe there were others like us. Why? Asked Zax9. Because being alone is the hardest thing in the universe, Sarah said, and her voice broke a little. Do you know what it feels like to look up at all those stars and think you might be the only ones looking back? Zax9 felt something wet on his cheek. He was crying. In 40 years of space exploration, he had never cried. We made music about it, Sarah continued. We wrote poems about loneliness. We created art about the emptiness of space. We built giant telescopes to search for signals from other worlds, hoping, always hoping that someone would answer back. And no one ever did, Kira said softly. No one ever did. Until now. Zax9 sat back down. His whole understanding of the universe had changed. These humans had not just survived being alone. They had thrived. They had created beauty in art and technology while carrying the weight of cosmic loneliness that no other species had ever experienced. But there was something else, something that made his heart race with excitement and terror. If humans could do all this while completely alone, what would they become now that they knew they were not alone anymore? That question would lead to a discovery that would make the entire galaxy weep. Commander Zex-9 thought he understood humans now. They were strong because they had suffered alone. But what Dr. Sarah Chen showed him next changed everything he believed about strength and survival. "Come," Sarah said, leading them to a new building. "I want to show you something we created because we were alone." The building was full of stories. Books, movies, paintings, music. Thousands and thousands of creative works. But these were not just any stories. They were all about the same thing. First contact stories, Sarah explained. For hundreds of years, we imagined what it would be like to meet aliens. We wrote about it, filmed it, dreamed about it. Zex-9 picked up one of the books. The cover showed a human shaking hands with a strange alien creature. "You made stories about meeting us before you knew we existed?" "Thousands of them," Sarah smiled. "We imagined every possible way it could happen. Sometimes the aliens were friendly. Sometimes they were enemies. Sometimes they were so different we could barely understand each other." Kira was studying a wall of movie posters. "These pictures show aliens attacking your cities, destroying your world. Why would you imagine such terrible things?" "Because we had to prepare for everything," Sarah said. "We were alone, so we had to imagine every possibility. We taught ourselves how to think about problems that had never happened yet." "That is very strange," Zex-9 said slowly. "Most species only think about problems when they happen. We could not afford to do that. We had no one to call for help if something went wrong, so we practiced in our minds first." Sarah led them to another section. Here were displays showing human inventions and discoveries, but something was different about them. "These are interesting," Kira said, examining a model of the first human airplane. "Your flying machines look nothing like ours." "That is because we invented them independently," Sarah explained. "We had no one to copy from, so we had to create our own solutions." Zex-9 studied the displays more carefully. Human computers were different from galactic standard. Their spaceships had unique designs. Even their mathematics looked strange. "You reinvented everything," he said with wonder. "Every single technology, you discovered it your own way." "We had to. But that gave us something special." "What?" Sarah smiled. "We learned that there is always more than one solution to every problem. Because we had no teachers, we tried hundreds of different ways to do things. Most failed, but some worked better than the standard galactic methods." This was impossible. Zex-9 felt his mind spinning again. "Better? How can your methods be better? The galaxy has had millions of years to perfect these technologies." "Want to see?" Sarah asked. She showed them human medical techniques that could heal injuries faster than galactic standard. Human engineering that was stronger and used less materials. Human computers that solved certain problems in completely new ways. "How?" Kira whispered. "Because we had to think differently," Sarah explained. "Every other species learned the right way to do things from their teachers. But we had no teachers, so we tried the wrong ways too. Sometimes the wrong ways turned out to be better." But what shocked the aliens most was what came next. Sarah led them to the final room. It was full of plans and designs for the future. Space stations, terraforming equipment, faster than light travel designs. "These are incredible," Zex-9 said, studying the blueprints. "Some of these ideas are more advanced than anything in the galaxy." "We have been planning for this day for so long," Sarah said. "The day we would meet other species and join the galactic community." "Planning for what exactly?" Sarah's eyes lit up with excitement. "To share everything. All our discoveries, all our different methods, all our solutions. We want to give it all to the galaxy for free." Zex-9 dropped the blueprint he was holding. "Free? You would give away your greatest discoveries for nothing?" "Of course. Why would we keep them secret?" Because they give you power. They make you valuable. They could make you rich." Sarah looked confused. "But what good is knowledge if you do not share it? We spend so long alone. We never want any species to struggle alone like we did." Kira was crying again. "You want to help the entire galaxy because you remember being helpless?" "Yes, we know what it feels like to face problems with no one to help you." We would never let another species go through that if we could prevent it. Zex-9 sat down heavily. These humans were not just strong. They were not just smart. They were something the galaxy had never seen before. They were generous. Their loneliness had not made them bitter or selfish. It had made them kind. Their suffering had not made them cruel. It had made them compassionate. They had spent thousands of years dreaming about meeting other species, and in all those dreams they had imagined themselves as helpers, not conquerors. There is something else, Sarah said quietly. Something we created because we were alone that no other species has. What? Zex-9 asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. Hope. Even when everything seemed impossible, even when we faced problems that seemed too big to solve, we never gave up. Because we had to believe that things could get better. We had no one else to believe it for us. Zex-9 felt something break inside his chest. It was not pain. It was the opposite of pain. It was wonder. These humans had taken the worst possible situation, complete cosmic loneliness, and turned it into the greatest gift the galaxy had ever received. But when the Galactic Council learned the full truth about what humanity had endured and what they had become, the reaction would shake the very foundations of galactic civilization. Even the strongest warriors would weep. The message from Commander Zex-9 reached the Galactic Council 3 days later. What it contained would change the galaxy forever. Council leader Thane had ruled for over 2 centuries. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had witnessed wars, plagues, and disasters that shook entire star systems. But as he read Zex-9's report about humanity, his hands began to shake. This cannot be real, he whispered. Around the Great Council chamber, representatives from 47 different species sat in stunned silence. The warrior king of the Draconian Empire, famous for never showing emotion, had tears streaming down his scaled face. They were completely alone? Asked the elder of the peaceful Zanari. For their entire evolution? Yes, came Zex-9's voice through the communication system. No other intelligent species survived on their planet. They had to learn everything by themselves. Impossible, growled General Corax of the Military Guild. No species can develop advanced technology without guidance. It takes too long. They would destroy themselves first. That is what we thought too, Zex-9 replied. But humans are different. They almost did destroy themselves several times. They built weapons that could end their world. They poisoned their environment. They fought terrible wars. See? I told you, Corax said. But they did not destroy themselves, Zex-9 continued. Instead, they learned. They chose to be better. They chose peace over war. They chose to heal their planet instead of destroying it. And they did it all alone with no one to guide them. The chamber fell silent again. How fast did you say they developed? Asked the science elder of the Crystal Collective. From stone tools to space travel in 10,000 years. What takes our species 50 to 90,000 years, they did in less than 10,000. By the ancient stars, someone whispered. There is more, Zex-9 said. They have offered to share all their technology with the galaxy, for free. They want nothing in return except friendship. Council leader Thane stood up slowly. His voice was barely a whisper. They want to give us their secrets? The discoveries that made them strong? Yes. They said, and I quote, "We know what it feels like to face problems alone. We never want any species to go through that if we can help it." The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of something the galaxy had never felt before. It was the weight of understanding what true strength looked like. "Do you realize what this means?" asked the elder of the ancient Vorthans. They are offering to teach us solutions we never thought of, methods we never discovered, perspectives we never had. More than that, said Zex-9, they are offering to protect the galaxy, not to rule it, to protect it. They said that loneliness is the worst thing any being can experience, and they want to make sure no species ever feels abandoned. General Corax, the toughest warrior in the galaxy, put his head in his hands. "We have been so wrong," he said, his voice breaking. "We thought strength meant having the biggest weapons, the most territory, the most power." "What did we get wrong?" asked Thane. "Humans are the strongest species in the galaxy, not because they can destroy enemies, but because they can turn enemies into friends. Not because they conquered their world, but because they learned to heal it. Not because they were helped by others, but because they learned to help others. The truth hit the council like a crashing star. Every species in the galaxy had developed with help, with guidance, with support from others. They had never truly been tested. They had never truly been alone. But humans had faced the ultimate test. They had survived in the darkest loneliness the universe could create. And instead of becoming monsters, they had become healers. Instead of becoming conquerors, they had become protectors. "They are what we all could have been," whispered the elder of the peaceful Zanari, "if we had been strong enough." "No," said Thane, his voice filled with wonder and sadness. "They are what they became because they had to be. They had no choice but to be strong. We had help, so we became comfortable. They had nothing, so they became everything. What do we do now?" asked someone. Thane looked around the chamber at representatives from dozens of worlds. Warriors, scientists, philosophers, artists, all of them had tears in their eyes. "We welcome them," he said. "We welcome them as our teachers, our protectors, our friends. And we learn from them what true strength really means." "What is true strength?" asked General Corax. "True strength," Thane said, "is not the power to destroy. True strength is the power to create hope when there is none, to find light in the deepest darkness, to choose love when the universe gives you every reason to choose hate. True strength," added the elder of the ancient Vorthans, "is what humans did every single day for thousands of years. They looked up at empty stars and chose to believe that somewhere, someone was looking back. And now we are," whispered someone in the chamber. The galaxy had found its strongest children, and those children, who had grown up alone in the dark, wanted nothing more than to make sure no one else ever had to be alone again. For the first time in galactic history, the entire council wept together. They wept for humanity's long loneliness. They wept for their own missed chances to be truly strong. And they wept with joy that the universe had created something so beautiful from something so painful. Humanity had taught the galaxy the greatest lesson of all, that the strongest light comes from those who have learned to shine in the deepest darkness. They had been alone for so long, they forgot what loneliness felt like when they finally found family among the stars.